This
is the intro.
This is the intro now.
This is non-existent
Is this the intro?
content.
This is the intro.
I'm not sure.
No, I'm joking. This is probably not the intro. This is probably not the intro.
It could be the intro.
Nothingness. This is going in the trash.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Overinspected podcast. I'm your host Manu for today, and back with me again are the two excellent co-hosts, Carrie and Chai. Welcome back, guys. And
hello.
This is what now? Episode 4. So it's been crazy. We've already been making these for a month, but man, it only feels like a couple weeks, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it only feels
very
like a couple
true.
weeks. That is so true. Yeah.
Anyway, today I wanted to discuss with you, fine lads, about so this is something I was thinking about not too long ago. I was thinking about, because we've all been in like the cubing scene for a reasonably long time, right? At least 5 years. And within these last 5 years, a lot of change in the cubing world. But one thing I was also curious to hear from you guys is like, who are like the cubers you kind of like look up to / who do you consider to be like, if you had to name one person, who do you think would be like the greatest of all time in your opinion?
Oh my god.
Yeah, I know. It's like a big topic, right?
Yeah.
Why don't we start with who are some like classic cubers that like you remember, like as you were like learning to cube, you remember being like particularly good, this guy like really inspired me to pick up cubing, or I just thought that this person was good, and from there like maybe you can narrow it down to like this person was, in my opinion, the single greatest or whatever.
Yeah, I feel like the obvious answer for me is Feliks Zemdegs.
Okay,
I don't want to like.
Maybe we should start with the most obvious answer, dude. We got to stretch it along so that the viewers listen, right?
Oh, I thought we were gonna like start with obvious and then get more and more like niche or more unexpected.
Well, I guess that also makes sense because
then I don't mean to have like a weird like ooh spooky thing, but maybe it's not so obvious. Ooh.
Foreshadowing.
Ooh, foreshadowing.
For the first one you're gonna say is not that obvious?
No, I mean, yeah, Carrie, continue. Like,
I started cubing in early 2013, so I think like Feliks was far and away the best cuber for, I think, everything from 3x3 to 7x7, but also like OH and all that stuff. So I think, he was also like making tutorial videos at that time, so I think he was easy to look up to as to like these advanced techniques like X crosses, how to solve them. But yeah, he was also just like very humble and very kind, and I guess like some communities might have the best person be a very like arrogant or like self-absorbed person, but that wasn't the case with Feliks, and I think that's very lucky for us for in the early 2010s.
Yeah. I remember like, because when my mom would like watch like speed cubing videos, because I would just put them on the TV, she would also just be like, because at that point Feliks was like a young kid, right? So she would be like, this guy is like the face of speed cubing or whatever. So she was like very surprised. But then like, as we watch like more and more videos, she's just like, wow, he's like actually like a really nice guy. Because I guess like usually you assume that like, people who are at the top, it's like lonely being at the top, or where's the phrase? Like, lonely is the head that wears the crown or something.
Yeah.
Is it the tall poppy is the first one cut? The tallest blade of...
But that doesn't make
that's
a lot
different.
of sense.
That might be different.
I mean, I hope
it makes sense. I don't think I've ever heard of it though.
It makes a lot of sense.
If any cuber were to be beheaded, it would probably be...
Okay,
no, we're not going to be giving it
Okay, whoa.
But what I'm saying is like... That's what the tall poppy syndrome talks about.
Oh,
okay.
I see.
Got it.
Oh, is this just like a metaphor that like you shouldn't stand out because otherwise like you're literally gonna stand out like a sore thumb?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a allegory about envy and about like you don't want to be envied. Okay, this is getting a little derailed already.
Never mind. Anyway, yeah. So Chad, so what do you think? Who's like a classic keeper in your mind?
I mean, there are a lot of classic cubers. Like as far as like the cubing GOAT is concerned, I don't think it's as obvious as it used to be, in a sense that the modern age performance has gone in such a rapid pace. Like, people are improving so quickly. But if you think about what it means to be great at something, objectively great or great in your time, for example, Feliks is up there. If someone had asked me who's your GOAT, I'd probably say Feliks. I mean, the dude has so many podiums and so many events. He dominated. Didn't he also dominate? He didn't dominate 2x2, but he was very good at world by 2x2.
Yeah. I mean,
like by all standards.
To throw another, what is the phrase? To throw another thing into the hat. Okay. Anyway, basically to advocate for Feliks. I think Feliks had also competed in every single event except for feet. But now feet got removed, right? So now he's platinum or whatever the highest level is. Well,
I think
Well, actually, I don't know. He probably doesn't have big blind averages. Maybe he does.
No, he does. Yeah, or he doesn't have mean. He doesn't have mean.
Yeah. So he doesn't have means. But in any case,
no one counts mean. That's like
really
cruel.
But Carrie, you're right. I think what makes Feliks so amazing, and part of the reason that he's the greatest of all time, is his personality. The way how genuinely nice he is to everyone that he talks to. I've only heard positive things about all the people that have interacted with Feliks, which is like crazy. Like, someone who knows so many people, there's bound to be one person that's like, I don't like that guy.
Dude,
like, that guy.
You would think
that guy. Nah, I don't vibe with that guy.
Just be one person who would just be too jealous, right? To just be like, yeah, like this guy, like he just spreads like false rumors or whatever. But
exactly,
with Feliks, there aren't even those guys, right? Like literally every single person is just like, yeah, like he's just a great guy.
Yeah, if you watched the Netflix documentary, The Speedcubers, right? I think that's what it's called. So on Netflix, The Speedcubers. I don't want to spoil anything because Carrie, you said you didn't watch it, but it got a little bit emotional.
Yeah,
it got a little bit emotional even for me, and I was like, this is not something that I expected to feel. Like, I did not expect to feel like the sappiness and the nostalgia, stuff like that. But yeah, it was, the story was told very well, and then Feliks's personality really showed, because it was just him, as like the main guy in that whole documentary. Along key figures. Don't want to spoil it for anyone, but yeah, that's definitely what stood out to me the most. And just the fact that he's been dominating since the entire decade. Like, pretty much the entire decade was his in a sense.
Yeah. Well, this would be a very boring podcast if we were all just yes men. So let me play a little bit of devil's advocate and throw in the next. I think this one is actually somewhat obvious also, but I'd like to bring Max Park up to the up to the witness stand. Wait, that sounds like I'm cross-examining him. Well, in any case, I would like to advocate for Max Park as being the greatest cuber to have ever lived. I think it is like, as Chai mentioned, one thing that I think we think a lot when we think about the GOAT is dominance, right? Like, those who argue that Brady is the GOAT go back to saying that he's just insane, right? He shows up when he needs to. He has a period of performance, and he's just dominant throughout his entire period of performance. I think Max right now, in the age that we live in, is that guy. Like, Max is just insane. Like not in like a derogatory sense, right? He's just he's so good at what he does, and every time you see him cube, it's just an experience. And now I make it sound like it's like some weird like cult type thing, but it's insane, because you think how to solve the cube, right? We've all been solving cubes for like at least 5 years, and then Max shows up and it's just like, oh, this guy really knows how to solve the cube.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I think with Max, since he's so good at the big cubes, a lot of times it's like you can't always teach people how to like get better at big cubes. You just have to practice a lot. A lot of it's sort of, an intuition of like, oh, here's how I should connect my centers together. And I feel like, just the fact that Max is so far ahead of everyone on like 7x7 and 6x6,
right?
It's like something you can't just learn more algorithms to catch up to him. He's just somehow more practiced at it, or maybe like that skill just fits into the grooves of his brain better.
Yeah.
There's just you can't replace it with algorithms.
No, you can't. It comes down to like a raw talent, right? It was interesting. Yeah. It like vaguely reminds me of this one video I watched a while ago. This is a sports related thing, but it was on SB Nation, It was this video about the history of bobs. It was like a very, very weird video. But at some point, there was this story. I don't remember exactly who it was about, but it was about this bob who was in track and field, and particularly long jump. I think like in the 60s or whatever, the long jump competition was like insane. The records were being broken, I think, like at a very, very small scale, right? And this guy, he was like going out for like the world record or whatever. And I think it was in the Olympics too. So maybe it was in the Olympics. It was like at the highest stage, and he always knew that he could break the world record, but he had never gotten there. The world record had only been broken by like inches, like very, very short margins. And then he goes out and then he does I think what the video claimed to be the greatest long jump of all time. And he just blew the competition out by several feet. So in an event where like, people are like really, really close together, like Max is like the guy who's like way further ahead than anyone else, where it's just like everyone else is literally vying for second place, because the only way Max is ever going to like flop is if his cube explodes in his hands.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That is true.
Well, the thing about Max Park is the thing about Max Park is that he doesn't do anything that's much different than I think most typical advanced 3x3 solvers or 4x4 solvers do. He just seems to do it better. He's extremely focused and super talented, and his TPS is easily the best TPS, and at the same time most controlled TPS of anyone that's cubing right now, right? Like he can go at a speed that no one else can, it seems like. Yeah. Also, I don't know if you guys noticed, he has like big hands.
Yeah, he's pretty big hands. He's a pretty big guy, so.
Yeah, he's a pretty big guy too. I don't know, but it just feels like maybe big hands play a part in just like dexterity. I don't know. Do you guys think it matters? Just hand size?
I don't know, because I would think that like if you have a smaller hand, you can just scale down everything you own, like buy a cube that's like 10% smaller. But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably not. Yeah. I didn't think about it. Like maybe if you buy like a 50mm cube, and then would you perform better? No. Now that I think about it, probably not. But it was just an interesting thought. But well, when you mention Max Park, that's true, because like he's got right now. Like he is dominating in the moment, and then Feliks was dominating in the past, right? Well, for me personally, the reason why I think this conversation is so interesting is, I watch some debate shows for sports and stuff like that. Like a popular one is Undisputed and First Take. This is a lot of shiitake mushrooming. You know what I mean? But what's always so interesting is, a lot of the times, they're not talking about the news because they're talking about opinion. And the opinion is talking about the future. So it sounds preposterous. But if you think about it, when you go back 10 years ago, when they're making these takes, a lot of it makes sense now. Like, I think in the past, like, for example, in the NBA, everyone said Blake Griffin was the number 1 overall pick. And then only one dude named Skip Bayless said he would take Stephen Curry, number 1 overall, over Blake Griffin. Not a single soul said that. So it sounded like a joke, right? So for me, when I think about the GOAT, I'm thinking about the future. Who is going to be the GOAT, right? And if like cubing history is completed, all is said and done, I truly think it is going to be a duel to the death between Max Park and Tymon Kulisinski. Like, Tymon is unbelievable. The way that he solves a cube, like, for me, when Steve Jobs says think different, I think Tymon, right? Like, the guy is doing CFOP, but it's like pseudo CFOP. He's solving like half an F2, right? Yeah, he's just doing like whatever he wants to do, and he's solving F2 all in like one motion. Yeah. It's like one long algorithm to him, but it's not an alg. He does it every single solve, and it's just like part of his look ahead. Like, he breaks up F2L pairs mid solve. Like, it's just crazy. And he does all the like the neat advanced tricks. He manipulates his OLLs to get better ZBLLs. And the way that he does his CFOP solves are truly incredible. And the way that I solve, like, I like to use RUD as my turnstile. He does a ton of RUD. Yeah. So yeah. I think in the next like 5 to 6 to 7 years, it's just going to be a Duke a battle between Max and Tymon. Like basically like two battling philosophies of like just going C-Fop as fast as you can with Max, and then Tymon doing absolutely everything.
Techniques.
Advanced analytics, you know, all that jazz. But I don't know. Maybe it's controversial, but I do think with enough time, Timon's young enough to where he could be considered the cubing GOAT. I do think so. Because like he's gonna be the one.
Like 5 years from now.
Yeah, he's gonna push the method.
He'll still be here.
Exactly. He's gonna push the method further, and he's gonna do things. And I think for me,
well, I remember when like pseudo slotting was first being talked about, maybe like 3 years ago.
Yeah,
I think Tymon was the one who's pushing for it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So like. I'm not going to say, we all thought he was crazy, but I definitely think that it seemed like a theoretical that, you know, like, this is an interesting concept. Maybe if you're going for like FMC, this is useful, but like not to actually use it in speed solves. But now it seems like he's turned it mainstream.
It's not even mainstream. That's the thing. Like no one does what he does. Just everyone knows that he's doing it, you know?
Yeah.
I think like there's levels to pseudo slotting that like ordinary people can do, like, you know, on the last 2 pairs maybe, but like the amount that he can do and keep track of is probably because, you know, he's been doing it for longer, and he's also committed more of his time to like training for it. And I think that's like something that he puts in is like, I remember in like 2018 he was wearing a t-shirt that said like eat, sleep, speed cube. Yeah. And I think that like that kind of devotion to like, this is what my life craft is going to be. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure he's going to do more with his life than just speed cube, but you got to put that much time in if you want to fully flesh out like pseudo slotting or any other advanced technique.
He's definitely done an interview where I think he said that shirt was literal. I think that's what he did for a while, like 12 hours a day, just cubing.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I mean some kids with like their practice regimens are like insane, right? Like I know Max also has a crazy practice regimen, right? Like he will do like just average of 5 comp style solves just all day sometimes, because, you know, that's just what he just really wants to do in the moment. Like that's how dedicated these guys are to speed cubing, which I think is, you know, it's that dedication is important. You know, if we want to consider like, you know, like this guy is going to be the greatest of all time. You know, we're not going to say that like this person is the greatest if they aren't dedicated to the craft, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, so. Kind of going back on the GOAT conversation a little bit, right? Like, who is the GOAT? Like for me, I think if anyone was like kind of confused at what my final answer was, Max or Tymon, I do think Tymon, like, is going to surpass Feliks, and I think Tymon is probably going to surpass Max, just on the merit and the intellectual knowledge that he's bringing to it, and also just the fact that if you guys have watched him solve, and same thing with Max actually, like they both have this trait, they have a tendency to actually perform really well under pressure. I know there have been a couple, like everyone has one-offs, but on average, like they do really well, especially under pressure. So that's something else that they have going for them. But the other conversation that could be had is a cubing GOAT is, well, there are 17 events now. There are 17 WCA events. What is the cubing GOAT the overall best cuber, right? Like, is that the conversation to be had?
Yeah.
I was actually going to say that, like, talking about the cubing GOAT, you can't have this conversation without mentioning Martin Egdahl.
Yeah.
Because he has, like, the best sum of ranks by, like, I don't know if it's an order of magnitude, but it's, like, second place is very far behind him. And it feels like he just randomly has, like, the 2x2 average world record and, like, square one and, like, 3x3 blindfold. It's, like, all these different areas. And, you know, if you subscribe to the philosophy that, like, the more time you devote into one event, the better you'll be, then, like, how are you good at, like, all 17 events at once? There
has to be some sort of, like, innate skill, innate talent into it, right?
Yeah. So the guy that Carrie is talking about, listeners and people who are watching on YouTube, Martin van Egdahl. So he's a cuber from Denmark. And if you want to actually go to his profile, the one I'm looking at right now, his profile, if you type it in the WCA website, 2013 EGDA 02. If you just look at his results, I'm just gonna list just the diverse amount of results that he has, right? Like he has a 6.7 3x3 average. He has a 29.04 4x4 average. He has a sub 25 FMC mean, right? That is like that's nuts.
That's
He has 6.94 average on clock. He has 2.41 on Pyraminx. He has a sub 3 4 blind result, a 4 blind mean. Like all these, like these are all different events. 43.24 Megaminx average. This is just average. It's not even single, right? His singles are also really impressive. Like this is all over the place. Like how are you supposed to practice all these, right?
Yeah. I mean, you know, as I think Chai mentioned in like the previous, I think it was in the previous episode. You know, it took a while. Like it took pandemic cubing to go from, you know, like getting, I think, what was it, the sub 50 average to like the 45 averages, right? But then there's just Martin who does that, but then also in all other fields. Now I realize this is making Chai look really dumb. Chai, that is not my intention.
No, like that's no. Like literally, when I'm streaming and I tell chat and I'm talking to chat, like, man, I just wish I could learn this faster, but this is just the pace I'm at. Like a lot of my chat will try to compete with me to be faster than me, and some of them are faster than me, and some of them actually don't get faster than me, which is like kind of validation a little bit. So like I know, like in a way, I'm not like the slowest learner. Right. But yeah, you know, some people are just better at improving, and it's like they're better at practicing efficiently. Like it's just like it clicks to them, like, oh, I'm gonna
right.
not make that mistake again. Whereas like me, maybe not, right?
Yeah, I mean, I find myself doing a lot of mindless solves, and I could do like an average of 100 on 3 and learn nothing from it.
Yeah.
And I think what separates the people who keep improving beyond the intermediate level into the world-class level is that, like, I think when you practice, like, they have to be mindful and, like, keep adding these very small tweaks that, like, shave off that 0.1 seconds.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like noticing, like, it's
yeah.
like a speedrunner, right? Like, you know, you're playing this game, right? And you might be able to get to the end, but you know, you might be losing. Like I know, like Mario 2 or Mario 1, right? Like, you know, you can get to the end, but if you get to the end even slightly too late, you're just gonna miss the entire frame rule, right? You're gonna be way off.
Oh yeah, I know about the frame rule stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like saving like these like small like literally like 1/60th of a second, so you can make the next frame rule. And otherwise, like if you don't make it, you're just gonna be way off. And you know, this is also true in like a lot of other games too. Like especially like 3D games, right? Like if you think about Mario 64, there are like probably like 3 or 4 ways to get from point A to point B, but one of them is going to be faster than the others, and that's where you're going to pick up a lot of speed against a lot of the other competitors.
Yeah. But I was trying to pull it up earlier. I was sorry, Carrie, you wanted to say something?
Oh no, I was just going to mention that the Super Mario Bros. Story is like crazy because like there was something about how like some speedrunner, I think his name was Cosmic, did like 6,000 attempts to try to like land at that one frame. And then like, you know, if you do probabilities, it's like this thing only happens 1/3 of the time, that thing only happens 1/5 of the time. You multiply it all together, like you have to do 6,000 attempts to get through.
That's crazy.
So
yeah. Mario 1 is insane. There are a couple of videos I watched. I think Summoning Salt has a video, and then also
Summoning Salt.
Bismuth's videos on Mario 1 are so good.
Yeah, and it's like, as someone who doesn't speedrun many games, I need to have those videos to educate me on like what does it mean when you miss a frame rule. Like what does it mean when Bowser has like a 4A formation? I don't know what they call it.
Yeah.
I need an explanation.
Yeah.
It's okay. I need one too. You're not alone there, Gary.
Don't worry. Not all of us can be Stanley Chappell. You know, good at Mario.
Well, he also.
He's really good at Mario.
So I was literally gonna say I think first off, I don't know, but I think he recently got a world record on something related to Mario.
He runs a lot of different Mario categories and across a lot of different games, and I think he's gotten at least. I think he might have gotten several actually.
But the other thing I wanted to mention, I was trying to scroll through Kintranks and find Kintranks, which is like the pretty much for most cubers is considered the ranking system that people use to consider overall competitiveness. But Stanley Chappell is another person that, you know, like the only reason I can't say that Stanley is like in the GOAT conversation is purely probably because he hasn't been cubing that long. Which also makes it more insane.
Isn't that a good thing? Like,
it also makes it more insane. Like he started he started around the same time as us, but he's by far and away better at all the events together than most other people. You know, like he is like number 1, if not number 2 with Martin. But you know, like he hit that plateau. Like he's been solving. I'm not sure if he still practices a lot. Like he said, he's doing the Mario stuff, but I think Stanley is in the conversation just because of how good he is at literally anything he does.
Yeah, didn't Stanley recently break like some big barrier in 4-blind? Or am I misremembering?
Yeah, 57
sub 1.
First sub 1.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like so I think Stanley still got it, dude.
Well, I think like Manu, you were talking about the high jumper who was like way ahead of the crowd.
Oh yeah, the long jumper.
Yeah, the long jumper. I think the clearest example of that is Big Blind right now in speed cubing, because like for most other events, okay, maybe not Max Park, but like most other events, a lot of people, top level people, are like close enough to potentially get the world record if they get a lucky enough scramble or something.
That's
like in
true.
Square One, I wouldn't be surprised if like any list among like 5 or 6 people got the world record. But in Big Blind, it's gonna be Stanley every time, and you know, I think that's one reason why he's so high on the Kinch, is because his like world records are so high that everyone else's Kinch scores for Big Blind, like the highest you can get is like 70, because you can't even get close to 100.
That's super true, Carrie, and we should like do a little like thought exercise with the listeners right now. So like if you think about the events, so just separate each of the 17 events, and you think about the world records, and you think about how many people are able to attain it. Like the most dominated events, like right now, like 5, 6, 7, you could say 4, not 4, 5, 6, 7 is like very much so dominated by Max, right? Yeah. But then you would say like, is Stanley actually more dominating in 4 blind than Max is at those events? And definitely, even in 5 blind, there is this like Graham is 2nd or 3rd pretty much in both of those events. And it's like not even close, like at the moment, right? Not even all time. Like the amount of domination that he has is crazy.
Well, I've heard some people say that Stanley Chapel is the only world-class big blind solver, because
everyone else
like,
is what we thought place, not even close to second
what
place.
We thought was world-class like in 2017 before Stanley like broke onto the scene was really like maybe people who hadn't tried hard enough or hadn't explored the event enough, and like Stanley might be the first person who's actually said like, okay, I'm gonna try to improve it and like put as much time to this event as people will put into 3x3 or 4x4, because there's such a high barrier to entry that maybe a lot of speed cubers will be like, oh, I learned 4 blind and you know I checked that off, I'm not gonna practice it anymore. And I think, you know, Stanley was like, no, you can't just learn it. You also have to try to optimize it.
But that speaks to Stanley's like mental prowess, right? Well, prowess is like not mental fortitude. That speaks to Stanley's mental fortitude to be able to push an event that has such a high barrier to entry, right? And that goes towards their favor, and that's probably like how people who are world class, people who are fast, the way that people practice efficiently, like that's all related to, at the end of the day, how you're even successful. Like just to loop that all back around.
Yeah. I'd argue that, like, you know, being dominant at the blind events is just its own beast as compared to the other events, right? Because, like, there are just, like, a lot of other things you need to deal with. It's not just, like for the other ones, you know, we're trying to complete the cube as fast as possible, right? But blind, one of the issues you need to face is, okay, you know, I could go as fast as I want, right? I could just, you know, do a couple of turns that I think the Scrambler did and just put the cube down. But if you don't solve the cube, it's all for nothing, right? It doesn't matter if you have a 3-second solve if you didn't solve the cube. And especially for the big blinds, because there's just so many different things that are going on, there are like a lot of different like memorization patterns that you need to remember, right? And keeping that all together, but you need to be able to also form those quickly, because one thing which I think a lot of non-cubers don't realize is in the blind events, your time count is counted both for executing, so like actually doing the moves, but also memorizing what actions you need to do in order to solve that state. So when we say sub 1 4 blind, we mean combined. He first looked at the cube at 0 seconds, and then the cube was solved less than a minute later. That's what that means. So being able to also like you almost need to well, I don't know. This is just a guess. It feels like you almost need to optimize 2 fields, right? You You need to be able to memorize well and accurately, but you also want to memorize fast. So you gotta train that, and then you all on top of all of this, you also need to have all of your algs down pat, especially for something like Big Blind, where if you mess up one move, then it's just all over, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think I forget what I was gonna say. Yeah, it's like two different skills entirely, and I noticed that like if someone is really good at just normal 3x3 solving and they switch to 3 blind, they'll be very good at execution, but not that good at memo. Mm-hmm. And it's like that just shows that the skills don't transfer unless you build them both up independently.
Yeah. Memorization is just a completely different, totally different. Whenever I do. So I was actually one of these people who's like, yeah, I learned 4 blind. I'm never gonna do it again after I got my first success, because I think it took me like 10 attempts to get a success. And after that, I'm like, I'm never doing this again. Because one of the hardest things is you're just staring at this cube for minutes on end, and you're just like, okay, like VN. Okay, I guess it's Van. I guess. Or is there something better that I can use? What makes most sense in this situation in terms of story? Like, what will I memorize, right? Being able to, you gotta like balance all these things. Like, okay, like I know, it's already a lock that it's a Van. I can make the story in this way, and then I'm just gonna memorize and just go. I don't know. I find it incredibly impressive.
I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention there's one more event that is definitely dominated, and that's MultiBLD. Like
Graham's against.
Yeah, Graham has such a stranglehold on MultiBLD as an event.
Wait,
did he what?
Oh, well, I mean, like, I totally agree. Like, Graham right now is so far ahead in the official results. But did you see that Ro Hessler?
Right, I know Ro is trying to dig in.
Yeah, Ro is trying to. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it officially at any point. I think he's even mentioned that he's not that concerned about doing it officially in like the Cubicle YouTube channel. But he's definitely doing it on stream, like 60 plus cube attempts, 80 cube attempts, right? And then of course Stanley is attempting like 45 to 50 in comp, and then I think there's another guy from India.
Shivam, yeah. Shivam was the previous world record holder.
Very, very close to Graham. Like 50 to 55 is definitely a lot different than 60. So, and like Graham's attempting 62, 64, right?
Did you see? I think last summer he did a 200, right? Or wait,
that was a lit stream. Oh my god, everyone
stream,
was having such a good time. Everyone was watching like this. It was so nuts. Just everyone was just watching him attempt 200 cubes.
How many hours did that go on for?
I don't know. It took a long time. It was a long stream. Deal, right? Yeah, but everyone was watching. And then like it was like a whole event. Like everyone like that was like at the peak of cubing Twitch too. Like everyone was streaming and then rating Graham, and everyone was streaming and be like, "Oh, like man, what's going on with Graham?" It's just like everyone was following.
Yeah. Everyone was following.
But that's an event where the streamer cannot respond to chat.
No.
Like,
absolutely no.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm sure, like, people were saying, like, oh my god, every time he'd put down a solved cube, but it's like, he's not going to say thank you.
There were counters, this is definitely an unsolved cube or whatever. What really sucks is I can't remember what the result was. Well, I think because I was just astounded that
I thought it was like 180 something, 190 something out of 200. It was a very high count.
I want to say that he had missed maybe like 6 to 10 cubes, but I just don't remember. So I think
he missed at least 10.
Okay,
but definitely he didn't miss more than 20. Like, something like that. But
yes, so that puts him between 160 and 180 points. So which is insane, right?
Now, of all the people that we mentioned, I just wanted to ask real quick because it's something that just popped into my head. And we don't have to spend too much time on this, but it is something that I'm curious about. Do you guys think, and who do you guys think is the most, and this doesn't matter about duration of cubing or anything, who do you think is the most underrated cuber right now that we want to, who are we going to give our flowers to? Like damn, you're flowers. Cool. I wish people recognized you more.
I was actually just scrolling through like the rankings on WCA, and I found someone who's like ranked 8th for 4x4 average that I didn't even know.
Oh yeah,
ranked
Ari Randers Pearson.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
we
mean-
know him.
Oh, you know him? I
Yeah, so-
should know him.
So the reason why we know him is because it's actually on the CubersLive channel. He had an
Yeah,
amazing.
cue the clip.
He had an amazing. I think it was a final, 4x4 final. I think during Twisty Puzzle Cup with was it Max Shaw or was it Maddie? I don't remember.
I think it was.
Whatever. In any case, I'll put the
Was
clip
it-
up here.
Was it not Chris?
No, it was not. Wait, I don't think it was Chris. I think it was either Max.
It
or
might have been
Maddie.
Max. It might have been Max. Oh, Chris was versus Maddie. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Chris was versus
Yeah.
Maddie. That was also
Yeah.
Any case.
Yeah, that was epic.
Yeah. I'll put the clip here so
Oh,
you guys can see it. But yeah. So that's how we know. That's where we know Ari from. Yeah, Ari is really really good at 4x4.
Yeah,
I
up
mean-
and coming keeper.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking through his history, and yeah, it seems like 2021 is really where he started to shine.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's like fun to go down the rankings and see like the first person you don't recognize, and you know, if you leave the cubing scene for like a year and then try it, you'll see someone like way higher that you're like, I should know this person, but I've never heard of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
Yeah, I think Pandemic also messed around with this a little bit because I think now there are a lot of Chinese cubers who are for 3x3 at least who are really high up. Like I didn't even know that.
Ray Hong Xu.
Yeah, I didn't even know that he had the world that he had the world record at one point.
Well, I feel like his philosophy is like Max Park, where the F2L technique is like very standardized and like pretty much the same techniques most people know, but he just can execute it so much faster.
I see.
Yeah, definitely.
But like, you know, he had an average faster than Max Park for a couple months, so you know, everything we say good about Max can be applied to Ray Hong Xu as well.
Yeah.
So I would probably say, I don't know, Manu, if you had anyone else in your mind, if you thought if there's an underrated cuber particularly.
Man, underrated cuber is so hard because I feel like you have to, like, you can't base it on results, right? Like, because the results would kind of speak for themselves, right? You need to like see them solving, right? And you need to like interact with them, figure out like what their like philosophy is and stuff, right? So, and since I've been like out of cubing for a long time, I don't know if I could confidently say that like this person is like extremely underrated. So I think that there are probably a lot of people who are really really underrated right now because of all this pandemic stuff that's going on.
Yeah,
I think
there
have been a lot of like underdogs who have just been waiting for their chance to like just to completely destroy the official results.
True.
Yeah, and it's like, how could we know about their existence?
Yeah,
that's kind of what it means to
exactly.
be underrated.
Like without like going out to look for them specifically, right? I think it's impossible to know.
If I had to pick, I'm just looking at like some names right now. If I had to pick the most underrated cuber, I think this is why I worded my question the way I worded it. But I don't know. I just don't think. I think Tymon is respected, and I think his recent string on like online competitions has shown that he's definitely like top dog. But I don't think people are truly thinking that he's better than Max, that he's better than Ruhang Xu, that he's that he's better than Maddie, like 100%. And I do genuinely think that, he's just better. He just needs to he needs the competitions to show it, and he needs 2, 3, 4 years of results to prove it. But I think he has the capabilities. So I see. I stuck with the same answer, really. I think he's underrated. I just don't I don't see anyone else doing what he does, really.
I see. So
and that's no.
Yeah. So you're saying that you should buy Tymon stock now before
it
goes to the moon.
Yeah. This is like the stock market.
This is financial advice now, huh?
Tymon is sort of like. I'm not going to compare it to companies, but I was just starting to think because he's already rated very high, but I guess Michael is saying that he's gonna go all the way to the top. So it's like a company that's already well respected, but hasn't peaked yet.
Yeah, that's what I think. Because he just hasn't had the time to dominate with his skill, right? But I think he will, and I just don't know. Well, I'm not sure if he asks 100 people, Ruihang or Tymon, Maddie or Tymon, right? Max, and this is, by the way, no slight in any sense to these guys, but I just think that, like, this is the guy I'm betting. Like, if I were a sports bettor, oh my god, not saying I would. I'm just saying, right?
Wait, yeah, I'm just remembering. Like, I just had a flashback to like Monkey League earlier in the pandemic, like maybe 2020, and there was a time when like Leo Borromeo was beating Tymon. Like, I don't know if there was a time period where like he was seen as number one in the world, but I don't know if Leo is still going to competitions. I haven't seen any like official results from him in a while.
I haven't heard from him in a while. He's definitely like, he's always within that conversation, right? And I think part of that early on is maybe why I would think that Tymon is still underrated, because he did have like a period of struggle, but he had been dominating the online competitions, especially near the end. I do think early on he was probably honing his craft with all of his like pseudo slotting and theory crafting and stuff like that, for sure. ZBLLs.
And when you like develop sort of a new skill, you actually get slower when you first implement it.
Oh yeah.
And then like you have to kind of be using it for maybe a year plus before you actually start to reap the rewards.
Yeah,
definitely.
Which is what he's doing now.
Yeah, so, I mean, we've been talking about all these successful cubers, right? I mean, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but to kind of maybe go a little bit on a tangent, not really a tangent, but
no sidebar today. We're only
no sidebar. Well, I mean, now there's a sidebar, right? So sidebar, right? I mean, like, how do you define success, and what does it mean to be successful just in general? And what are like the habits, the practices? I mean, we touched on it a little bit, but it doesn't just have to be cubing, right? Like, these guys are going to be successful probably regardless of what they do, but like, why, right?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think the closest parallel we can make is with other sports, probably. Well, I say other sports. Yeah, I guess sports, because cubing is not exactly a sport. But I think in sports, like, if you have to like think about like who are like the goats of, well, for me the easiest ones are to think of like tennis, right? Like, right now there are only like a handful of people who are like the goats of tennis, and even more so like, well, I guess like, well, when Serena was still like extremely active, like she was like probably undisputably the goat of tennis, right? So like, what ended up, I think what made her like so good, or what made her like seem like the GOAT, right? And I think this is true for athletes in general, is just an extended period of just utter domination, and which comes from just like, it comes from like a lot of things. Well, one is like probably like a lot of skill and inherent talent, right? But then I think there's also like an insane amount of drive that needs to be there, because if you have like any sort of talent, it seems like it's probably like some like diamond in the rough type thing, right? Like, you know, the talent is there, but it needs to still be honed before it can be turned into something that like truly sparkles. And I think what's true for all of these people is that they just have like an insane drive. They have like it's like a willingness to like point out their own mistakes, not just like be like, okay, like I'm satisfied with where I am, but it's just like, okay, like no, like this is a mistake, this needs to improve, I need to get better at this. I think that to me is like one of the key things that makes like people who are like really, really successful stand out among the rest.
Yeah, I mean, isn't there like that ratio or like that quote, success is 99%
perspiration, 1% inspiration.
Yeah, or like something related to like 99% like work ethic, 1% talent, something like that. Yeah, like something of that nature. Like,
I
talent
think it's associated with Tesla. I think Tesla. Wait, was it Tesla? Maybe. It might have been Edison. Maybe. Okay, never mind. Now I don't know.
By the way, I mean, if you guys are curious, Elon Musk apparently is hiring people without college degrees. So go get your job, guys.
I remember I read about it like in 2016. I was like, maybe I should work for Elon Musk. I've changed my opinion on that now.
Yeah,
but enough. even people like Elon, I think like they just have like a drive, right, to see certain things happen, and then it's just like, you know, like what can I do? Like, even though it's like a mountain that needs to be climbed, it's like, what can I do now, right? Like what needs to be done so I can get to the next step. So then I can get to the next step, to the next step, to the next step, to the n-1 step so I can finally get to the top.
Well, like, I think we can, like, tie it into maybe the personal lives a little bit, right? So, like, I mean, you graduated, Manu, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, how, I would say that's very successful. You graduated from an esteemed school. I mean, you're wearing this shirt, right?
That's true.
And you have a very, like, you know, high-quality job, right? And you're reaping the benefits of that. But, like, I would say that in some sense that's success. But what, like, I don't know how much you want to go into it, but, like, what... How did you drive yourself to do that? What motivated you, right? How did you become successful, right?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm the best person to answer, but like,
well, maybe you don't think you're successful, but I'm telling you, just based off of objective like facts, that's what I'm presenting to you.
Sure.
That's what it is. That's what it is, right? So like, how instead of answering like how you got to be successful, maybe ask like, how did you get to where you are?
Sure.
Maybe that's a better way to do that.
I think what's so I'll say that like my job is in computer science, and I graduated with the degrees in computer science and physics. So when I was growing up, I learned a lot of just computer science stuff. Like I was just interested in just like the way that things worked. So I think that's like that's like a little bit of like maybe like you can call it like the inspiration bit. But then I think one thing that I did a lot is I would like break things. My parents particularly told me that I would break a lot of things when I was younger, just because I could just see like inside of them. So I don't know. I feel like that has something to do with it. Like even nowadays, right? When I go and write a piece of code, I very rarely know what to do immediately. Like most of the time, I'll write some code knowing that it's going to break, and then but once it breaks, I can figure out okay, like it broke in this way, so this is like something I need to fix. And so like once I see okay, like now I've fixed this problem. What's the next problem I need to fix? What's the next problem I need to fix until like I get something that at least works. It might not be the most beautiful code ever, but at least it works. So I don't know. That's kind of what I think. That's sort of like what I do with at least computer science. I think Carrie, you might have like some other thoughts as well.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say from what you said, it sounds very incremental, which is I think you hear that a lot from like motivational posters. It's like Rome wasn't built in a day,
right?
Or like
you
know, I don't know. It's like if you want to build $1 trillion company, like it's not gonna happen overnight. So it's like each day you just make sure you're at the n+1 level.
Football's a game of inches.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
that, like,
That's another.
Kind
phrase.
of. Yeah, it's different. Anywho.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think, like, I guess if we, like since we're both sort of in computer science, like I guess I have a different perspective because I got tired of like I was studying artificial intelligence in college, but I think I had a sort of like falling out of love of the discipline. So I just like I used to make videos and like do experiments with AI, and then I sort of just realized like I don't know.
Dude, not gonna lie, those videos actually got me into AI.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy because like they don't feel like that long ago, but I guess in the world of AI, which changes like every 3 years, like, or I mean, every year things are changing, but like a paper from 3 years ago is considered like,
I'm pretty
archaic.
Sure. I'm pretty sure I think you made a GAN at one point for art or something, or maybe it was music.
Not...
But I remember one of those was like my first introduction to. I particularly remember the GAN. I'm like, wow, like this kind of thing exists. That's cool. And like this guy I know like has done stuff with it. That's kind of incredible.
Well, I think that the cool thing about that video is like. It was pretty early on in the history of GANs because they were invented in like 2014 or 15, and then it made those videos like 2017. But now, like NVIDIA is using GANs to like create photorealistic faces and videos, and like you can just go to a website and like create a new human face.
Yeah.
And it feels like you watch my video and it's like, why is that GAN looking so bad and like crude? Well, it's because the technology actually changed. But I guess the reason I mention all of that is because I think part of success is also realizing when you're sort of like wasting your time and you need to like shift gears because you could be like spending too much time on something that doesn't lead to what you would consider success.
Yeah. It's like to speak in like gradient descent, it's like local minimum, right? Like you need to be able to jostle so you can find more optimal places to find greener pastures, if you will.
Yeah, that gradient descent. That's a really good analogy.
Sorry, yeah.
I don't
This
know
is
if
like
any-
I randomly threw machine learning into this entire thing about some philosophical thing
I
about
think
success.
Like the overlap of people listening to this podcast who are into speed cubing and know what gradient descent is. I don't know how many people are gonna be there.
It's pretty low, yeah. Don't worry,
Well-
I'll put up like a little thing that's like, okay, like this is like very briefly what gradient descent is.
I mean, I
Yeah.
definitely think that, Carrie mentioned this, but, I mean, we echo the same things, Manu. The way that, how you get to where you are is you take it step by step. And I found it interesting how you highlighted
Gradient
that
descent.
when you would... Yes.
Sorry.
No. And then when you would try to get a job done, right? You just go to point A to point B to point C to point D, not jumping all the way from point A to point C. Just you have to do process, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just take everything a step at a time, and just really having patience. I found that's really key. I wouldn't definitely call myself like in maybe a normal sense successful.
I'd say
but what
you're relatively successful, dude.
But what I will say is something that I see from every single successful person that I know is how much they have just a work ethic, a motivation. And I don't know where that comes from, right? And then that it gets a little bit deeper in a sense that I think there are some people that are self-motivating. Like it's pretty normal, right? It's not normal, but like of the successful people, they have a self-motivation, a self-drive to just do it. They'll just be like, let's just do it today, right? And maybe a common example of the opposite is just a procrastination, a past a due date, whatever. Like that's the opposite of self-motivation, and never being on time and stuff like that. But then you think about
It's me.
if you're that person but you're still successful in other ways, like how did you drive yourself? And then for me, I think the answer is related to maybe it's not like you don't have an option, but like just kind of going through like the adversities and stuff like that, and just understanding that, I mean, you kind of have to get to the other side, right? So you have to put in the work. Like if I screw this one up, I'm screwed, right? So that's just something I think about. And then I think for me, what I consider the most successful part about myself is I think I've become more in tune with like my personal well-being. And that matters a lot. And I think in being successful, really being in tune with yourself, and recognizing what you can do and what you can't do.
Yeah.
Right. It could lead to like a lot of like weird things, especially like as you go through the years of life and stuff like that. So, I think adversity plays a huge part in just being successful in general.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, right? And I think I like 100 billion% agree with like work ethic, right? Like, kind of bringing it a little bit back to speed cubing. I don't think any of the guys we mentioned would have been where they are without the 99% perspiration. Like, just the insane drive to get what they want done, and that's their motivation, right? It's like they wake up in the morning. Like while they're doing other things, they're like, okay, I need to finish this fast so I can work on speed cubing, or on something else, right? Like that motivation I think is really, really key in order to just find yourself at a place where it's just like I'm at the top of the pile now. And I think like it's not even necessarily that like, oh, like if I don't have the talent, then like what's the point? I think like you can even with that, even if you're lacking talent, there are like you can make it up with certain ways. Like I think this was something interesting that was so a while ago there was all this controversy about speedrunning, Minecraft speedrunning controversy. And it's like people cheated in Minecraft by changing like the percent drops and stuff, right? But they cheat not because they're good. They cheat not because they're bad, but because they don't want to put in the time. So like the I guess what I'm trying to say is that like we're trying to fight that, right? Like like you can put in a lot of time even if you aren't very good, and you can still get up to that point where you're just sitting at the top.
Yeah. I mean, success is about like how much you're willing to sacrifice, and I think, well, okay, I guess this is kind of like rolling back a little bit, but like Michael, you were talking about how a lot of success is like realizing that, oh, if I don't do XYZ, I'm screwed tomorrow or a year from now or something.
Yeah.
I think what's so surprising about the people who are really successful in speed cubing is that there really isn't that motivation, because it's like there's not really many people who are financially using speed cubing as like a crutch.
Yeah,
So
that's
these
very
are all
true.
like self-motivated people, like only wanting to be good at speed cubing for its own sake. And I think that's like a beautiful thing about the hobby. It's like, you know that if you find other speed cubers, they're only doing it because like they just think it's fun or it's interesting.
It's
You're
super
not gonna
pure.
find-
Yeah.
You're not going to find like scammers trying to make a quick buck. Well, maybe you will, but there aren't that many people who are only in it like, you know, for a quick buck.
For the
'Cause
fiscal
you can't-
gains, like they didn't go
Or
to
like
Rubik's
clout.
Cube. Like they didn't attend a Rubik's Cube school to go to the best quality like Rubik's Cube education, you know, stuff like that. Like I know exactly what you're talking about, right? Like when Tymon wears that shirt, eat, sleep, cube. He says he keeps for 12 hours a day, and it's quite literal. You tell anyone to keep for 12 hours a day, and they're gonna tell you, "I tried and I can't."
Yeah.
That's all they're gonna say. I mean, like, where does
Yeah.
that come from, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's the internal motivation, right? It's just like there's this goal that like I want to get to at all costs, and it's just like if I don't put in the time now, I'm not gonna reach that goal. So I have no choice. Gotta put in the hours.
Yeah. Yeah, I like, it is interesting that it's just like, there aren't really shortcuts. Like whether that's Minecraft speedrunning or speed cubing or I don't know what else, like getting a job. It's like, you gotta, like if you try to like take a shortcut, it always has some pitfall somewhere.
Yeah,
It's like lying.
Or it's just too good.
It's
to be
like
true.
lying. Yeah, like it's better than to just always tell the truth rather than just like lie and then like get eaten up for it later.
Yeah,
It always comes back somehow.
yeah,
Yeah, but like not even for something as egregious as lying. It could be something as simple as like when you're learning F2L and like you learned one, like you
Oh,
want to learn
yeah.
F2L as quickly as possible, so you learned very bad like beginner-like techniques, and then you just want to get fast off of that. Well, if you actually want to be like Tymon, you have to like, you can't skimp on these F2L cases.
yeah.
I have a personal example to that. So like when you're learning OLL, when I learned OLL in the beginning, instead of learning the optimal alg for ergonomics, so like just staying with RU or just staying with LU, I would learn the lefty version of
Oh, I
the
still
right.
do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I still do that.
But everyone knows that usually that unless you're doing some sort of thing where you're intentionally skipping some sort of like, you're solving some pieces to do that, because they do solve different pieces technically, a lot of those cases, you want to stay on one hand as your dominant hand and one hand as your offhand for ergonomics, and so you're smoother. So people who juggle between RUL a lot tend to lock up in their official solves a lot. And I learned that the hard way. So, I mean, most of my algs are switched now, but there's a couple that I started keeping 5 years ago and I still have the same problem, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think a lot of my cubing is also kind of like that. It's just like, yeah, you know, like, I could learn all of OLL, or I could just orient edges instead. And, you know, now I don't know, I basically know 0 OLLs, right? So, I'm sure that there are, like, also, like, lots of people who try and skip steps. I remember when we used to teach like, a student-run course on how to solve the Rubik's Cube, right? And when it was getting closer to the final, people would always ask, like, yeah, what is the fastest way? I just need to do it, like, you know, I only have, like, 2 weeks. I just need to do it, right? But we would always just tell them, like, look, you just gotta practice, right? You don't need to practice that much. You need to find out maybe an hour out of your day, and if you do that every day, you should be good. You'll easily pass the course. But yeah, people always try and look for the shortcuts. It's just like get good quick. But unfortunately, there is no get good quick for most things. It's just gotta put in the time, put in the effort, and see where that leads you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. Oh, we're synced again, Michael.
We're on the same page,
Okay,
same
clap.
wavelength.
The
No.
same
Damn
wavelength.
it! Almost.
Oh,
we'll get
that
them
was
next time.
Oh
Next
my
time.
god.
Yeah,
We'll
we'll,
see.
we'll do
Wait,
it
you-
next time and we'll sync up.
We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see.
next time.
All right, guys. I think it's about time to wrap up the podcast. But before we do, let's bring it back to the Cube and Go. Rapid fire, quick. Who is the Cube and Go?
Oh.
Carrie.
I still have to go with Feliks just because of history.
Okay, Feliks. Okay, try.
Timon, because of the future.
Okay,
I'm the past.
Okay. Well, I'll take the one in the middle. I'll take Max because Max is insane. So
Max is the
awesome.
present.
He's the present, then the past, the present, and the future. How about that? That was actually pretty poetic.
Very poetic.
Surprisingly,
Is that the title for? Is that the
past, future, and present? Not bad.
Maybe not.
Past,
There's not
present,
enough
future.
context. There's
Go
not enough.
for it.
Well,
Okay, well,
I mean, yeah, we'll see.
dude, come on, dude. I was gonna end the podcast right there. I was gonna say this is the most poetic way to end the Overinspected podcast. Thank you all for listening. But now it has all turned into
Yeah,
now we're
but
talking
your
about the title of the video, and
your
can still use it.
your co-host is Michael Chai. What did you expect?
I guess that's true. Fair enough. Fair enough. Hey, when I've been the co-host, the podcasts are just as insane. So anyway, yeah, I think that does it for us. Thank you all for listening. Hope you enjoyed this one. Yeah, this one got kind of philosophical, but yeah, I think we got some pretty good conversation, and yeah, hope you all will join us next week where we will talk about I Have No Clue. So yeah, hope to see you guys then. Ta-ta. Thanks.
Bye, audience. Thank you for watching.
Peace out, home slices.
Slices.
Home slices.
All right, I guess let's go with that.
Okay.
I like it.
Cue the outro.